All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Webinar Wednesday, Tips to Grow Your Online Community. It really is great to be with you guys here today. We've been off to a great start this 2020, and we have some nice updates to share with you today in the webinar. And for those of you joining for the first time, welcome. It's great to be with you here today. I am Jason there on the left, and we're lucky to be joined by David Rockland, the digital strategist. And he really is behind the scenes on all these webinars and putting them together. So thank you, David, for taking the time to join us today.
Of course, happy to be here once again. I think we've got another tip of the week this time that will be useful for both people starting brand new directory websites as well as those who already have established sites and are just kind of trying to figure out how to keep the ball rolling and how to keep momentum going with their sites.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that tip of the week. And I always like to mention, if you haven't already done so, please feel free to join us in our Facebook group. You can head on over to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook, and we can always continue the conversations in between webinars there. There are lots of great discussions there. I'm active in there myself, and I'm also learning myself a lot how people are using their Brilliant Directories websites in different ways. So you can go to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook, and we look forward to seeing you in there. And I always like to mention, just for those newbies joining us today, welcome. Webinar Wednesday is a great place to talk about marketing strategies for your site. We also talk about some of the features that are added to the Brilliant Directory so you guys can stay up to date and utilize them to grow your community. As we all know, launching a website is pretty easy these days with all the tools, but growing a community does require some strategy. So if you're just starting out, or you're established, or you feel stuck, feel free to ask any questions that you think we can help with to help you foster and nurture your growing community. All right, we have quite a few BD Lab updates. I will go through these rather quickly. Most of them on this list are coming soon, and I just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek. But we've been busy here. Actually, if you look at one of the bullet points here, we had over 120 updates, fixes, features added in the month of January last month. That is actually a personal goal and a milestone for the BD development team, so I want to give them a round of applause. And again, I want to thank you guys. A lot of the updates that we push are from feedback, from the Facebook community, from emails to our support team. We're here to make the software better for you guys. So it really is a team effort from all of us here to make things better. Touching on what we spoke about in the last webinar 2 weeks ago, we're continuing to finalize some of the updates in the member dashboard UI, the user interface, basically. Just a couple things I wanted to show you today. We do have a better display when your members are viewing their leads that come into the system. So I'll head on over and just quickly show you what we're referring to here. One thing, I love the updates we did to the sidebar with all these notifications here. Really makes it a better interactive experience for your members. So when your members log in, if you're using the leads feature, they can come in and manage their leads. The table is in a better, nice and tidy view here. It also looks better on mobile, and there are easy to use search filters here at the top so they can quickly find their leads. And most notably here, let me click on a specific lead. The layout of this page has changed slightly, and I actually have an old screenshot of what it used to look like. It's all the same information. It's just made a bit better here for mobile and whatnot. So this is a small image here. It kind of shows you there was a pretty aggressive title up there, and then a tab that said manage your messages, and then below that was a button to go back to your messages, and then another title for the specific lead you were viewing. And then the metadata for the lead, the price and the status and whatnot. So I'll toggle on over to what it is now. So now the go back button is what's in that tab there, and we go directly into the lead here. Also, the print lead button is nice in here if the user wants it. There was also an issue that was reported that members weren't able to kind of like highlight or double click or copy and paste things in here. It looks like that was something that was happening for a few days, and now it's been resolved as well. So a better layout here for leads. This is something that I kind of helped and oversaw with the development team here. And again, it was requested in the Facebook group and some messages that we received. When members are publishing their first post type, it could be an article or coupon or event, Now it will show them a nice message in a box that says publish your first and then whatever the post name is. In this case, it's called a member article. And then there's a nice button here. Prior to this, there was a tab and just a button here, a green button here, whatever your theme colors were in the top right corner. So now we're prompting the member with a positive message. This is a text label, the publish your first. So you can certainly modify this to your language or whatever you need it to be. But this layout here is much better when a member is coming to do their first type of post for something. Much better layout. Also good on mobile. Let me just toggle a mobile view here so we can see here that it's very easy for them to know exactly what they need to be doing here. All right. This is the next one here, the export tool update. So if you have the member export tool add-on, this is an enhancement to the existing tool. Basically now you can select specific member fields, custom fields that you want to export with your member exports. And I'll just show you guys a quick example of what I'm referring to here. And this is going to be in your admin dashboard area. So let's just start on the main dashboard page here. And where you'll find this is in members under search members. And if you have the add-on, you'll have this export member results tool. And what I really like about this is you can use any of these search filters here and search for whatever member criteria you want, and then you can export that specific list from the members that you search. So I'll just do like search for basic members on this test site here that we have. So we have 3 basic members, and I'll do export member results. So what we have here are, and if you've added custom fields, custom data that you ask your members to fill out, those fields are also available for export. But now we can see on the left-hand side are all the available export fields. On the right-hand side, we have some default ones selected for you. You can certainly select all fields, or if you want them all, or you can just uncheck this. Just so you all know, the user ID and the email of the member are always required for an export. Those are basically the unique identifiers for your members. But now you can certainly come here, and if you just need a couple pieces of data, you don't need the whole Excel file of data that you have on members and all the metadata. You can certainly pick and choose maybe a small handful of the ones you want here. One of my favorite things, and the dev team built this in, if you search for the word total, you can actually export things like total paid invoices, past due, and total refund. So when you're getting member data, the total paid invoices, it'll basically give you the total positive revenue that member has generated for you through the website. Past due will give you a total of any past due payments they have on your site, a total roundup of it, and the refunded is the total amount you've ever refunded that member for the history of their membership on your site. So these 3 here, if you just search for total on the left, you get some really good data here, and an actual physical monetary number of how much you've received, how much they're past due, and how much they're refunded. So if you wanted to, for example, round up who all your past due members were and do an email campaign to get them paid up and whatnot, this would be a great way to do an export of your past due members and then follow up with them accordingly, because now you have your email address here. All right, this one is a quality of life update. We've done a couple of these related to the post types. It's easier access to the post search results link. So a lot of times people email us, hey, how do I get to my classified search results? Or, how do I add it to my menu? I don't know what the link is. Let me show you now exactly where you can find these. So if you go to Content and go to Edit Post Settings, so now right here in this table we see these links here. So if it's a valid post type that actually has a search results page, such as properties or products, photo albums, etc., you can just click on here. I'll just click on blog, and it will take you directly to the search results page for that post type. And of course, you can then use that link, since now you know what it is, very quickly, and use it, add it to your menu, your main menu, or other places. All right, some fun stuff that's scheduled to come down the pipeline soon, and someone actually did mention this in the Facebook group, the ability to add tables and rows to the text editor. So you can kind of line up images if you want 3 images in a row, or text and images and combinations of that. That's being released soon. I can show you a quick preview of that on this sample site that we have. So the first release is going to be for the admin editor when you're editing web pages. So I'll just scroll down here to a sample page I have. And basically, this is the new icon you'll see is this table icon. It'll say Insert Table, and then you can choose how many rows you want, or how many columns you want, also how many rows you want, and then you can kind of do things like this. What's nice is when you do have these columns, you can kind of stretch them if you want to make them like different sizes, like maybe we want a larger image. But let me show you what a page like this looks like. Obviously, we're just using the same image here as a sample. But so you can see you can have images in a row. You could have the image with text underneath it. So you can nicely structure columns on your site and create, kind of help you build out some of the landing pages you've been looking forward to creating. So hopefully in the next webinar, that will be released and we can start doing some more testing and show you guys some more examples of what you can create for that. In the next phase after this is released, here in the text editor in the admin, the next phase will be to release this for example, when you guys are creating a blog post on your site or like a coupon post, adding it to those text editors that are on the front end of your site when you're logged into the member dashboard. All right, this is one that's also been requested, is showing your members the origin page of their leads. So, you know, members have that lead form on their profile page. Sometimes there's a lead form, like if a member publishes a classifieds ad, there is a method to kind of send that member a message that is considered a lead. However, right now it doesn't say what the page was where that lead was submitted. So if it is from a specific classified post or a job listing that a member published, right now they don't know which page that came from. So showing them the origin page will give them a bit more context as to where that person was when they inquired and submitted that lead, and then probably what the message is that references to regarding to the page that it was submitted from. So that's going to be available soon. Another one, this is an enhancement to an existing add-on. We have the advanced post moderation add-on, where you can choose if your members' posts are going to be published or not, or if they require admin moderation. Currently, the post moderation is just on a per post type basis, so you can set it for all your classified posts. With this update, you'll be able to set it per membership level. So perhaps all your lower tiered members, all their posts have to wait and be moderated by the admin, whereas you could set it so your higher tiered members or premium members, you can create a different rule for them, and all their posts, they can choose if it's going to be published or not. So the power will be in their hands. So this will give you more control and also allow you to provide more value to your higher tiered members because you can choose not to suppress or have post moderation for those higher tiered members. This next one here, and I know I'm speaking rather quickly, but I just want to get through this real quick. There's going to be a new member bulk action where you can choose to change the author of a post. So perhaps you're about to delete a handful of members, and usually what's happening right now is all their posts are being deleted with them. But a lot of people have recommended that when they delete them, before they delete members, they want the opportunity to move the posts to another member, so that another member is kind of the owner of those posts or is the author of those posts. So you'll have a bulk action to do that. That's also really good, is maybe if you have a lot of staff working on your site and they're publishing a lot of content as a member, and maybe they leave, or you want to switch it to a master account as the author, this will come in handy for that. One thing that I'm excited about is this next one, using star icons when writing a review. This is just a small aesthetic update. So currently, when you're writing a review for a member, it's not using these stars. This is the test site, so it's coming soon. It's using those circle radio buttons. So it will start using these stars moving forward, which matches the rest of the website's design, which shows stars for the members' review. So just a small UI update. It kind of makes your site look a bit more developed using this rather than the circle radio buttons. And then lastly, it's come up a lot in the Facebook group and in our support team. You know, we do have the spam form protector add-on, which is amazing. It does suppress a lot of spam submissions. However, sometimes, for example, in the UK, there's an area called, for example, Essex, or Sussex, I believe, and the word sex, S-E-X, is in there. So the spam form protector is blocking those submissions. So we're going to create a setting where you can select the sensitivity, where you can choose if it's an exact match or if it's a broad match for those spam keywords. And that should alleviate some of the false positives that your members or you are receiving for that from that spam form protector working. So I'm also looking forward to that, and probably a lot of people in the UK will benefit from that because that seems to be the recurring example with that word and that location coming up. So these are just a few updates. As you can see, we're busy at work here. It's something we love to do, and we always welcome and appreciate your continued feedback for helping us make the product better. So thank you very much, guys. But Dave, you've put together this great presentation for us today, the tip of the week. The value of knowing what members really want. So tell us a little bit about this and what we look forward to covering today in this.
Yeah, so when people are first getting their membership website off the ground, I'd say about half website owners tend to actually do a lot of research and figure out exactly what it is their prospective members, their target audience, wants out of their website. What is it that's going to make them come to the website and then use the website, become members on it? The other half try to put themselves in the shoes of their prospective members and kind of try to assume what those members want on their website. Sometimes that can work just fine. Other times it could lead to a lot of wasted time and effort going back and forth through different iterations of the website, different offerings. So hopefully this presentation that we have here will give everyone a better idea of how to go about really pinning down exactly what it is your prospective members and your target audience is going to want out of your website so that you can focus on those specific elements. And then from there, you can add in those different iterations and features and things that maybe they're not saying specifically, but from the start, we really want to focus in on specifically what it is these people want on your website. So that's what we'll be delving into in this presentation.
And I also want to mention, it's not just what they want, it's what they want to see, what they want to hear, and what they expect. So this is much more than just packaging and offering to your community. It's about how you pitch, learning how to pitch using the verbiage they want and the emotional pain points that you aim to resolve for them so you can really solidify your connection with them.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really important point is the communication aspect of this. You may know exactly what it is the members want and need out of your website, but if you're unable to communicate it in a way that connects with them, then that could be a shortcoming from the marketing aspect of your website. And so some of these tips that we'll be going into here, they'll allow you to understand not only what is being discussed online by your target audience, but also how it's being discussed. Like Jason mentioned, the verbiage that they're using. And if you can incorporate that same verbiage into your marketing elements, then that will help better communicate what exactly your website does to your members and help them better understand why they should be joining your website to help solve some of the problems that they're facing. And so this is all why data is better than guessing, because like I mentioned previously, you can try to assume what your members want, and sometimes that can work out just fine. Other times you may end up wasting time and effort and maybe even money if you're paying for certain marketing aspects. But understanding exactly what it is your target audience wants will help build a long-lasting relationship with them that's rooted specifically in trust, but trust comes from understanding each other's needs. It's just like a personal relationship that you may have with friends, family. You really need to understand each other's needs, wants, and that will help build that incredibly important relationship that will make them want to actually join your website and use your website over an extended period of time. Understanding exactly what it is they want will also help to drive users to take action on your website, like we just mentioned, especially if you're able to use the same verbiage that they're using when they're expressing their problems, their difficulties, their desires, whatever it is that your website offers them. If you can use that same verbiage, it'll help them better understand why they need to join your website And doing all of this will really help to reinforce why your website is a useful resource for them. And that all comes back to driving them towards creating that membership on your site.
And also, I think the number one thing most people stray away from is talking to their community. They try to do everything passively. They try to, update their homepage, change a title here, this and that. Which, assuming things is a good way to get started. But if you really want to grow, the key is, connecting with the community. So, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is pick up the phone and talk to people. Hi, what do you think of our site? Do you know what our site's for? What brought you to our site? That's one way to do it. You can also do surveys, which we'll talk about later. But gathering this data and actually talking to people, and a lot of us might be shy, and we just again we want to work passively, but from what I've seen in now years of experience of this, the most successful sites open a dialogue with their members, and that's kind of, if you're afraid of it, you got to put some armor on, and you got to get out of your comfort zone and just know that connecting with the community is going to not only benefit your members, because now you understand the actual words they're using and the problems they're facing that you could potentially help solve, but it's going to help you because you're creating those real relationships with people who in the beginning stages will become your ambassadors and your evangelists for your brand and your community. So I know a lot of us might be a little shy. It might not be in our wheelhouse to talk to people on the phone, intro calls and this and that, but try not to overcomplicate it for yourself, and don't overthink it as well. They're just normal people on the other line that you're connecting with, and you're trying to do some good for them. So you're doing something positive, so you shouldn't be shy. You shouldn't shy away from that at all.
Yeah, so like Jason just mentioned, don't be afraid to ask for that so important input. You can try to put yourselves in the shoes of your users as much and as often as you can, but you won't know exactly what it is they want and need until you actually are able to communicate that with them directly. And so in this presentation, we'll go over 4 ways to discover what it actually is that your members specifically want. Those 4 ways are through social listening, conducting surveys or questionnaires, observing market trends and really having your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your target industry, as well as following the numbers, collecting some data, which I know at first can sound a little bit scary and complicated, but with all the free tools available now, it's really become much simpler. So we'll go ahead and dive on into all of this. So the first aspect, social listening. You need to learn about your audience and focus on exactly what it is they're saying. The amount of information that's available to us online is immense. We can't really even comprehend it. So potential members for your website, they're already online discussing their problems, their frustrations, asking questions. And you can find these potential members, your target audience online, most likely in various online communities, whether it's online forums, or maybe there's already other membership sites that you'll be competing against. You can go over there and see what people are discussing. More than likely, there's already some social media groups set up either on Facebook or LinkedIn or any other social media platforms. Facebook and LinkedIn tend to be the most popular when it comes to online groups. LinkedIn more specifically for the professional groups and industries, Facebook more so for the more casual industries. You can also find them on Q&A websites. Yahoo Answers was the most popular for, I'd say, probably close to a decade. More recently, Quora has become much more popular. And you can just go on both of these sites, do a quick search for either your target industry, some keywords, or if you think you know specifically what it is your target audience is asking, you can even just go on Google or again on these sites and type in those questions and get some related questions, also see what helpful information others are providing. And then the last thing is, again, through just a normal Google search, whether it's just keywords or questions that you think people might be asking, you can come across a lot of really good blog articles. Sometimes there'll be some useful information in the blog itself. More than likely, if they have a comment section and the website is somewhat popular, you'll be able to get even more useful information out of the comment section, because that's where people will actually be providing feedback and discussing the topic. And those people are probably your target audience, the people who you want to join your website. So all of this, it will help you discover what questions are most commonly asked by your target audience, their major pain points and problems that they're experiencing, what knowledge and skill gaps exist, and what desires and goals they have. And so all of this information is really invaluable when you're shaping your membership offering.
And one other thing, Dave, that's also important is in case you have competitors in your industry, which is also very common, we can also see what people are praising about your competitors and also what people are complaining about the competitors. And there might be a gap in the market for something a competitor may not be offering, or the way they conduct themselves, or their service level agreement with their member community. And that can be an opportunity to address those issues and differentiate yourself from something a competitor may not be doing or may be doing poorly. So you can definitely capitalize on those opportunities as well, reading reviews online, or as this says, social listening, just chiming into some of the existing discussions that are going on online.
Absolutely. And the second option that we have here is conducting surveys. Now, the only way to find out actually what people want and need specifically is to just come straight out and ask them. Surveys, they're the most direct way to get feedback. You can either conduct multi-question surveys. It could be just a single question email if you already have an email list built up. The one thing I will say is if you are going to conduct a multi-question survey, try not to make it too long. I would say make it easy to fill out in maybe a couple minutes. You don't want to overload people with questions where they'll just end up not wanting to complete it. And we've got so many things going on in our lives right now that take precedent. We want to keep these surveys short and easy to comprehend for the user so that we can get the most useful feedback from them. And conducting surveys online, it'll give you the widest reach. You'll be able to cast the largest net. So while you can pick up the phone and call your target audience, maybe send out emails to the email list that you've already gathered, conducting a survey online, maybe in one of those online groups or a blog article that you found related to your target industry, conducting it online will give you the widest reach. And there's a lot of really great free survey management tools online. SurveyMonkey is probably the most popular next to Google Forms. Google Forms is definitely the simplest. SurveyMonkey is probably the most popular now, and then Typeform is another option. One thing to keep in mind when you're conducting surveys is that what people say can sometimes be different from what they actually do. So it's good to conduct surveys along with some of these other tactics that we're mentioning in this presentation.
And I think you brought up a good point here. There is something called form fatigue, and that does happen when surveys are long. It's different for every industry and how exciting your questions may be, but just be mindful of, as David mentioned, the length of the entire survey, and also the level of complicated answers you're hoping to get from them. Giving them multiple choice might be helpful if you're trying to narrow things down. And also short questions that are easy to comprehend, and you want to get their first reaction sometimes. And then if you're going to have some long form responses, some open-ended questions, you want them to just write whatever they're feeling in their minds and hearts. Just have a couple of those on that survey. So just keep it short and sweet, and you'll probably get some good results, and people won't abandon the survey midway through.
Tip number 3 out of 4, observing market trends. You always want to have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in your market. You want to stay current. You don't want to fall behind. And if you have competitors, allow them an opportunity to kind of sweep in and move ahead of you. So all of this, again, can be done with a simple Google search. If you're not already familiar with some popular online mediums that reflect what's going on in your target industry, these can be blogs, podcasts, video channels. If you can hang out and around some of these locations online that your target audience frequents, such as some of those social media groups, a lot of times in there, they'll be sharing resources or media or content from the same sources over and over. So if you can identify those common sources, it probably means that your target audience follows them, and so they have their finger on the pulse of what's happening in your target market. So those are the sources that you yourself want to follow as well to remain current. And all of this goes into identifying those online influencers who essentially act as unofficial spokespeople for your prospective members, your target audience. So you want to really understand what it is they're talking about, what questions are being asked, what they're excited about, what frustrates them, because what frustrates them, what excites them, what they want to see is typically what others in your target industry want as well. So this will help to identify, again, what you can offer in your membership plans or on your website if you're offering information for free that your target audience really wants and will make them want to keep coming back to your website. The other option, which we didn't list on the slide, but this really depends on your target industry and maybe even your location if it's a national directory or a local one, is you can attend industry conferences, meeting influencers in your target audience face-to-face. This will, again, this goes back to establishing those meaningful relationships and trust. I know oftentimes that's not really possible depending on what your target industry is and your target audience, but if that's a possibility, that may be something you want to consider.
Yeah, and once again, a lot of connecting with your members is speaking their language and using their lingo and terminology and things they're using. So, staying current with things like popular blogs and podcasts will keep you updated with the latest buzzwords and keywords that your industry is using. And then you want to make sure you sprinkle those and use those throughout your website because that's what people are expecting to see and hear, from whatever industry you're targeting.
And lastly, it's all about the data, following the numbers. So you want to collect data in order to better understand what elements of your website, as well as the content that you're sharing, are actually resonating best with your audience. Because once you can figure that out, you can replicate those elements to better connect with your target audience rather than kind of just throwing a lot of content out there and hoping something sticks. You can really identify what actually does stick and follow along that path. So the best thing you can do is create a free Google Analytics account, and then you can link your analytics ID with your BD website. It's just in the general settings. You can just copy and paste it in there. And from there, give it some time so that it can collect some data on how your website visitors are using your website. But from there, you can look at the data that's provided from Google Analytics, and this will allow you to see what pages are most visited on your website, where people are coming from, what links they're clicking on your website, the traffic flow, whether or not they're staying on your website or leaving directly from the same page that they came from. There's so much valuable information from Google Analytics. When you're brand new to it, it can be a little overwhelming, but there's so many great, useful content online regarding analytics. I'd recommend just going over to YouTube, searching analytics for Google Analytics for beginners, and there's so many great video tutorials on how to use Google Analytics, how to use all the tools that are available in it to better understand the data that it's providing you. And once you're able to understand that data, like I mentioned, you can use that to focus on exactly what it is you know for a fact is working on your website, rather than just hoping something works and not really knowing for sure. This will give you a much better understanding of if something works and why it works. The other thing is that a lot of social media platforms offer you some data that can be useful as well. Specifically Facebook, LinkedIn a little bit. Facebook really provides a lot of data now, especially if you're paying for ads or boosted posts. Then they're really able to provide you with like the countries and the locales of people who are interacting with your content, specifically what content resonates best. And there's some tools as well from your company page if you're sharing content through that and you're not paying for any ads or anything. Facebook does still provide you with a little bit of data, but go through all of that, and that will, again, help you understand what posts and what content resonates best with your followers and other people who are on the platform. And so you can focus more on sharing that kind of content on your social media profiles, and hopefully that will allow you to focus on what works and what drives people to your website, rather than spending some time and effort on pieces of content that may not end up performing as well as you hope. So data is really important. It can take some time to understand the ins and outs of it all and understand how to use that data. But once you do, it will really be a game changer for you. And a lot of these resources are free now online, and there's a lot of free educational resources online as well. As I mentioned, YouTube is honestly probably the best resource that you could use for understanding how to utilize this data that you're able to collect for free.
Yeah, I think when I first got introduced to Google Analytics, it was a little overwhelming, but once you start understanding just like some of the basic numbers, like how many daily visitors your website received or what your most popular page is on your website, just those beginner things, it really gets you even more motivated and excited about your website because you're actually understanding how it's behaving and how the world is finding you and your website and how they're interacting with it. Also, it allows you to start creating some milestone goals for yourself. Maybe your site's just starting out. You have, a few hundred visitors a month, and you want to increase that to you maybe start getting into the thousands of visitors per month. You can actually see what types of content on your site are attracting the most types of traffic, and then what you want to do is look for trends like that, and then you want to leverage and capitalize on the things that are working, and then kind of stay away from the things that may not be working and use up a lot of your resources related to your time. With regards to the social media stuff, what I love most is it's free to post stuff online. You basically want to see what type of posts get the most engagements, what posts get the most clicks, what type of posts get the most likes or thumbs up, and you might learn that sometimes memes, those funny images we see with the funny messages in them, those are enough to spark and ignite your community on a Monday morning. And learning those types of trends and looking at those numbers, it can help organize your actions and the method you use to market and grow your website, because once you start learning how the universe is reacting with what you're putting out in there, again, you can better organize your actions and your time and create a more structured marketing plan on how you want to grow your community. Mondays I do this, Tuesdays I do this, 3 times a month I add this type of content to my website, and you only know that information from the analytics, from following the numbers that David is sharing. So I know sometimes when we talk about data, collecting data and looking at numbers, it could, again, we might tend to want to shy away from it. But if we can, take that step forward and trust in yourself, just know that you may get overwhelmed, but don't let it stop you from moving forward. Following the numbers are your best friend, especially with online businesses and online websites, because in the end, everything online is data driven. So you'll just be doing yourself a favor following the numbers. Dave, you kind of dug this up from one of our previous webinars, and I'll go ahead and share a link. In webinar Wednesday 63, we did do a segment on why it's important to get early user feedback, but I think this does correlate and fits nicely with the tip of the week today. All right, guys, so what we'd like to do is now pass it over back to you. If you guys have any questions about some of the lab updates, the tip of the week, or something else we can help you with on your website, we'll try to get to as many questions as we can today.
Actually, Vincent typed in a message that I think is a really good tip. He said to actually make sure that you have a phone number on your website that comes directly to you. He said it can be a hassle sometimes. It might be a little bit overwhelming if people are inundating you with calls, but if it's coming straight to you, you're able to talk to these people one-on-one directly. And from that, you're able to really understand better than really any other way what exactly it is they want, they're looking for, they need. And so I think that was a really great tip, Vincent. Thanks for sharing that.
We have Franco here. He's got his hand up. I know you're calling from South Africa, correct, Franco?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. How'd you like the webinar today?
I think it's cool as always.
Awesome. What's your question for us today?
On the homepage, is there a way to make it so that the join our newsletter thing does not show up?
I think there's a design setting which would make it site-wide. So what you can
Okay, I don't know, because I was looking for something that was like turn it off.
Yeah, you can come to your design settings under footer design. show newsletter, you can turn that to no. Let me just save the changes. Oops, click visit website. So if we visit the website here, we'll see it. And then, well, we're going to be working on, this is actually an update. We're going to be doing newsletters as pop-ups. It's also going to help prevent spam. You can add that to the coming soon list. But essentially, when you set it to no, let me refresh here now. It should be gone, this bar. So you can certainly, and actually I think that's a nicer, cleaner look. You can certainly come to the design settings and set this to no, Franco.
Okay, and the thing that says search, review, connect, can you set that off as well?
Certainly. So that is your homepage divider settings. So because there's so many settings, it has its own module. However, Franco, where you select to enable or disable that, that's going to be one of your homepage section order options. By default, I think most sites, if they start with that, it's in section 1. You can certainly just come here and set this to none. But basically, it's called your homepage hero divider. And what you want to do is just take it out of the rotation here from any of these sections.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for the questions. We always appreciate them, Franco. All right, guys. I don't see any more hands up here. I think we had a great webinar Wednesday. Thank you, David, for putting together this great presentation. If we didn't get to your question today, please join us in the Facebook group. You can head on over to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook and click on the join button there. The next webinar will be in 2 weeks. That's our general schedule, is every 2 weeks we have a webinar Wednesday, and we do look forward to seeing you then. So on behalf of myself, David Rocklin, and the entire Brilliant Directories family, thank you for joining us today. Have a great day and a brilliant week. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.